Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the IAA debate in Delhi, which is the third in the series.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the IAA today in what is likely to be a very lively and spirited exchange of views. We're going to be talking about a hot topic, a topic that's been sort of the topic of conversation ever since the recent Goa Fest. But actually, it's been a topic of conversation for far longer than that. It's been a topic of conversation ever since advertising awards were invented. What are they, advertising awards? Are they a great good, or are they a necessary evil? They can be expensive, they can be time-consuming, they can be tedious, they can be self-indulgent, and they can be disappointing. But you know what? As all of you know in this room, they can also be validating and motivating and inspiring and, let's be honest, a whole lot of fun. But what is advertising? That's the bigger question. Is it creativity or is it commerce? And where should industry recognition draw the line? Are we in the business of making art? Or are we in the business of creating market impact? And how often can the two come together? Should advertising awards be about creativity, the art of it? Or should advertising awards be about revenue and market share, the science of it, the finance of it? So the topic of today's debate, as you know, is the following. Creative awards can also be given for differentiated one-off expression. Ms. Deepika Warrior, she's one of the country's premier marketeers. Lloyd Matthias, a business leader and a global marketeer. Josie Paul, Chairman and Chief Creative Officer, BBDO India. And last but most certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Pratap Bose, COO, Chief Operating Officer for DDB Mudra Group.
You have a topic that reads, Creative awards can also be given, underline, can also be given for differentiated one-off expressions. I mean, what the fish, you know? I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? The subject in itself is so condescending, at least for creative folk like us, because, you know, creativity is the soul of everything that we do. If I were to return this question, it's saying, please reconsider 10 of the 14 Grand Prix at Cannes last year. The agency folks didn't invent one-offs. You know who did? The clients did. You know what clients' lingo for one-offs are? Dipstick studies. It's gone for research. Pilot markets. Yeah, we never sort of coined that phrase in the first place, and I think clients are to be blamed a lot for this debate in itself. And one-offs are criminal, I completely agree, but if you were having the discussion in 1927, I completely agree with that. But today's world is completely different. The media landscape is changing. And it's not about social media, it's not about crowdsourcing, it's not about digital. The new media is people. And if I like something, which is a creative expression or not, I will forward it to my friends. And I care two hoots whether you've spent 10 crores on it or it's a big budget campaign. I like it, I share it, I forward it because it's something that resonates with me. You would have a million conversations about Kumbh Mela chapatis, right? You've all heard the Lifebuoy example. Now a great creative idea from Ogilvy, but if you really think about it, it doesn't change the proposition of health and hygiene from Lifebuoy in any way, right? It's the same thing. It's just a one-off expression that stays with the true brand proposition, but it's highly creative. The point is that differentiated one-offs can be done for an established brand, it can be done for a brand proposition that's been 80 years in the making, or it can be done as a simple idea, because at the end of the day, creative folks create ideas, that's what we are. You've seen PSY, that's hit, what, 1 billion hits? Is that not a one-off expression? Closer home, you had Kolavaridi. Is that not a one-off expression? It's obviously taken to people's heart. It's something very differentiated, and it's sort of cascaded all barriers in terms of psychographics, and it's touched the chord of many people. If I take two examples from my agency, we did the silent anthem about, 3 years ago. It's a one-off expression. The client came to us and said, at that time Bobby and myself, you've got to do something on Independence Day. We created that anthem, and that's part of history. Volkswagen did the talking newspaper, for example, if you heard about it. That was one-off, right? I won't tell you how much they spent. It was shitloads of money. But the objective at that point in time was for VW to create an impression that VW is here to stay in this country and create a bit of buzz, which they did, literally. You've all, at some point in time, heard about the Cadbury's dancing cricket commercial, right? Where she dances on the pitch, right? Now, I can tell you, contrary to anyone who works in Ogilvy, that was a flash in the pan from Mr. Piyush Pandey. He wrote it at the back of the envelope. He didn't think that idea would change the category, which was only kids at that point in time, to say that only kids kids are not the only ones who eat chocolate, but everyone from a 2-year-old to an 82-year-old. That didn't happen overnight. It happened overnight, and it was just one creative thought or expression. Piyush Pandey didn't say Cadbury is going to spend 20 crores on this campaign, it's going to become big, it's going to change the category. It happened later, I agree. And the same goes for Fevicol. You've all seen the, 1, 2, 3 or one rende moondre kind of campaign. My time is not very good. But that again was in a bout of drinking session that I think lasted about 6 hours till 1 in the morning. And next day it was polished, and it was a great campaign. It stuck to the USP, the core of what Fevicol said, but at the end of the day, it was a one-off expression. The creative idea, once conceived, is never guaranteed of success. If it's successful, then for God's sake, go to the FEs if it's effective, right? But at the end of the day, if it's a great creative idea, you must respect it.
The core of what advertising is meant to do is to move product and build brand equity. And I think we have to really relook at that, the entire proposition in the light of that advertising is not art for art's sake. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. The basic purpose of advertising is really to go out and help sell more product, right? And therefore, what is this one-off expression? So if we were to kind of shave it off its jargon, it's really the concept of actually creating these one-off ads, which, if you look back at the recent controversy, is what we really call scam ads. And I'm really looking at it from the light of the fact that what is it about creative awards that drives both marketeers and agencies? And, we're both on the same side of the fence on that one. I think it's the need for awards, which helps shore up agency showcases, good thing, which helps agencies get bigger bonuses. Not sure if it's a good thing. Which helps get them more business, maybe not. And why the case against it? I think it's really the moment you start giving creative awards for one-offs, you're actually encouraging shortcuts. You're actually encouraging lazy advertising. Advertising that's good for the showcase, but maybe not good for the shop shelf. I think that is the core of my proposition. And therefore, what I do believe is that advertising does not exist as art for art's sake. It's purely a commercial proposition. It needs to drive product sales. It needs to build the balance between commerce and creativity. It needs to build the balance between building brand equity and driving product. And therefore, my point is that doing one-offs sometimes is the shortcut. It is the lazy way towards getting awards. And that's the reason why I think the motion should not exist.
You've heard two compelling arguments for and against, and I would just like to invite any of you that have been convinced to change their minds to switch sides. Those of you who came in late, if you're sitting over there, it means you disagree with this notion. Those of you sitting here, it means you agree with the notion.
I was a non-believer, okay? I really actually thought that one-offs were created just for awards. And then one day something happened. I met Steve Jobs, sort of. And he showed me a one-off ad that he had done and for Apple. It was called 1984. Yeah, it was this ad that ran only once and kind of created a cult. It made Apple what it is today and built a sort of counterculture. And made me think, a one-off? Wow. Like I said, I was a non-believer. I had nothing favorable to really say about one-off expressions, creative guys doing their thing to get famous, as Lloyd said. Creativity for creativity's sake, you've heard that many times before. And then I heard about the Dove's campaign for real beauty. And then I started, checking about it. How did it start? It didn't start because some global guy at this global presentation where they decided that. It started because a bunch of young girls decided to do a one-off exhibition in Toronto to check where they got, women photographers to shoot women and give their perspective. It was a one-off. But social media made it huge, and suddenly they realized it's something throbbing out here. And that made it big. Yeah, so it was a one-off. So one-off suddenly started springing new surprises. And it took off. It wasn't a one-off, it took off. Yeah, and started a debate about real beauty. Now that's a phenomenon, we know that. Now, like I said, I was a non-believer and a cynic, suspicious of one-off expressions, I knew all the tricks because I was there before. I knew Christmas Day came once, I could do a one-off, and nobody could catch me, right? It's a one-off. Christmas comes only one day. So, no questions asked. But then I was told about this amazing song that someone wrote in the 70s for a soft drink, which was done only for Christmas Day. And then for a decade it lasted because it was a song of a nation that was trying to fight, its own anti-war sort of nerve. And that was beautiful to know. So I was trying to understand, why was I getting worked up about one-offs? And then I was looking at what was working with one-offs, and I realized that I had to sort of soften my stand and be a little less judgmental. Perhaps I was being judgmental too soon. And the evidence was building, and I realized that I had to sort of look at things beyond advertising. So I looked at life. Sometimes it's the little one-off incidents that trigger large movements. I thought of a brown man who got kicked out of a train in South Africa. And I thought of this lady who refused to vacate a seat in an all-white bus. And a man with a plastic bag who didn't budge as a column of tanks trundled towards him. All one-off incidents, but capturing a massive social sort of unrest. A single act of sort of defiance, starting a chain of possibilities. I thought about this, and I thought about creation. And I looked at, the sperm. You just need one sperm, a one-off, to create, right? And I said, wow, one-offs work, man. It takes just one seed. And I was watching Tim Sebastian talking to a guy called Chris Bonington. If some of you know, and I'm sure many of you know, Chris Bonington is this amazing mountain climber. And Tim Sebastian, in his typical acidic style, was telling him, you are selfish. Because all you do is become famous for yourself. You climb mountains, you get resources, you take all these people with you, and then you waste so much money so that you become famous. It's such a selfish act because you don't serve society. And I said, wow, this guy is gone. He's just beaten up a man. And then Chris Bonington said this amazing thing. And I'm sure he's, had cold winds hit him at good heights. And he said, that's all I know. To climb a mountain, that's all I do and that's all I know. And what I do and what I know, I do the best I can. Because when I take my field to the limits, I'm hoping people who watch me take what they do to their limits. And that's how I contribute to society. And I said, wow, what a beautiful way to look at selfishness. A one-off, perhaps. I thought that one-offs had a role. They have a role. They provoke, they laugh at the mainstream. And I promised myself to never underestimate the power of a one-off. I was a disbeliever before, and I'm here to make a promise that I will treat every one-off as an R&D laboratory. Give it space and time to grow, and if it dies, it was never meant to be. But never reject, because it came walking in alone. Someone is trying to find a new truth, so give him a chance. It's in the laboratories that the future is written, and it's in the fringes that tomorrow is made. My quest now is not to judge too soon, but to encourage discovery. I learned I should recognize one-offs, not because they are one-offs, because hidden in the good one-offs are the seeds to possible revolution. And there's no such thing as a big idea, just small ideas that have the potential to become big. We may award them, we may not award them, but we cannot ignore them, and I promise never to ignore them. Because in the right hands, they create energy, and they start a fire.
I think recognition for great work is important. And I think recognition comes through in the form of awards. I think recognition also comes to the advertising fraternity, which produces the creative product in the form of incentives and therefore profits, as Lloyd mentioned, and also acquisition of new businesses. So sure, recognition is very, very important, and awards are very, very important. The question is, what should we recognize? And I think that's the million-dollar question. And in my opinion, and I just heard myself being described as someone who's sold a lot of ideas and products across. I think that we should, as a fraternity, as a marketing advertising fraternity, be spending our valuable time and energy recognizing great brand building. And when I'm saying brand, I don't just mean CPG brands or FMCG brands. I mean, brands could be people, brands could be events. I think we should be recognizing work that delivers sustained impact, as Lloyd articulated, which could be in terms of equity, it could be long-term sales and short-term sales, which engages consumers' attention and captures their imagination, inspires them. As I said, work that results in impact. But as we recognize all this, I think it's very important that as brand owners, and all of us are brand owners in this room, some of us are brand owners, our brands are our agencies, our brands are our people that we work with, our brands that we market. My request to the advertising fraternity is that let's not forget the reason why we advertise. Advertising has been created to communicate the emotional and functional benefits of brands in a context which then helps build cultural authority or persuasiveness for the brand, and in a sustained manner, which therefore helps enforce and build, it could be brand positioning or cultural authority for a brand and so on and so forth. What advertising is definitely not supposed to do is to mesmerize, sometimes get a little self-indulgent in terms of its storytelling, or just disruptive ideas which kind of shock and awe consumers. And at the end of it, there's this consumer says, what was that ad for? Or what brand was that? So I think let's not forget the purpose of advertising. One-offs are great, but let's wait for fruition, and let's let them flower into, there are one-offs like the Mac idea, but that's like one in, that's really one in, I don't know, in a billion. But let's wait for ideas to flower into come to full bloom before we recognize them.
This is for Lloyd. You mentioned that advertising is purely commercial. It's all about what gets watched, what gets seen, what gets viewed. Isn't there a danger that will reduce all advertising to infomercials? And on the flip side, isn't there a danger that by playing to the lowest common denominator of what gets watched the most, we'll all end up watching porn? Because really that's the most watched thing online. So, and aren't all choices fundamentally emotional? Aren't all choices emotional choices looking for the kind of reason to justify them? And that's the heart, that's the stuff, the random inspiration that Josie and Pratap are talking about.
I'm not here to speak purely for rationality in advertising. I think we're not about to bring this debate down to should we push infomercial, should we push pure rationality into creative. I think they're not two exclusive parts, right? So while Josie made a very nice attempt, if I may, to say that what's rational is not necessarily creative, I don't think these two things are mutually exclusive. And therefore, my thought is that it can work fabulously for the brand in terms of building brand equity. It could work for a short-term objective. It could work for a one-day objective, a one-day sale. It could work in terms of long-term. But if it springs from a creative thought that is adding long-term equity to the brand, then it's worthy of being more than just a one-off. And therefore, the clients put heart and soul into it. Much like premiering the 1984 commercial on Super Bowl was clearly an indication that the client did not see it as a one-off. It may have been the one ad that obviously went completely crazy. So I think my thought is that the danger is really separating rationality and creative and saying that they're the opposite sides of the coin. I think it's possible to have both working, and therefore I think that the real merit or the real award worthiness of great advertising is what it does for the brand, in a sense that it adds long-term equity. We are not arguing against creativity. We are not arguing against creative ideas coming from a random walk in the park. Just one of those creative ideas which the creative guy has when he wakes up in the morning. I think what we're arguing for is really saying that this strange little piece that we got released somewhere because we got someone in the brand team or the client side to sign for it, largely with the view that this can be evaluated by a bunch of creative folks sitting in a jury room for a piece of metal we like to showcase. I think that's the proposition I'm against, because to my mind, that is where the equation breaks. I think sensible people, and all of us are brand custodians in the room, will support a great creative idea if it's got hands and legs, if it's going to work for the brand. But if it's going to work, for a jury room of creative guys, making each other feel happy or working towards their next bonus, then I have serious issues against it.
Let's pull back and let's look at who we're talking to. I mean, we're not talking to ourselves. It's not a little incestuous little community talking to ourselves. We're here because we're trying to reach out to millions of consumers in India, could be global and so on and so forth. And increasingly, if you look at these consumers, and I think Pratap, you mentioned that, they're exhausted. I mean, if you look at their mind space, it's so crowded. They're bombarded with multiple messaging. And, if a brand has a hard-earned position in the consumer's mind space, I think that's a treasure trove that we should take very care not to let go of very quickly to chase a wild goose idea. However, if in that position or in that overall, let's say, creative strategy, there is an idea which is wildly exciting, which reinterprets, which is very contextual, which kind of adds value to that proposition, which is goosebumpy, which in a creative meeting, you've got the client and the agency, everyone sitting up and saying, wow, that's a great idea. Why not? But I mean, to Lloyd's point, I mean, that's not about winning. That's not, you don't create that idea to win an award. You win that idea, you create that idea because it's embellishing a very strong proposition or an ongoing proposition or a position that you hold in the minds of the consumer. So just wanted to, I think creating advertising or work to win creative awards, I think is a little self-indulgent.
I don't think this debate is about creative awards per se. It's about creating that one beautiful expression or that one invigorating idea or thought that later transforms into the brand's equities, builds on it. It could have been created earlier. You can either have an equity that is built upon consequently, or it could be for a new brand or a new brand strategy. And that's the point. And if I can just pick one example from Cannes, and I did a little homework before I came. I looked at all the Cannes, only the Grand Prix winners, right? So you can't say Grand Prix scam in Cannes for sure. And the one example from Coke, for example, which is the mobile idea, it was such a fantastic idea. The idea was anyone in the world who wanted to donate $2 or $1, I forget the amount, could donate it by a special vending machine anywhere on the planet to anybody. So I can donate $2 to a little beggar in Nicaragua who could go to the Coke vending machine and pick up a can of Coke with a note from me, right? Now, it may not have sold many Coke cans, but I think it was a great one-off idea that built on the Coke equity, right? So the debate really is about the one-off creative expression, and if it is great, it can be awarded. And I think, I believe that it should be awarded.
So it's important that within any sort of creative process, you have a madman. You have somebody who's crazy, who sort of says things that are random but probably rooted in his own way. And that helps us. We need that role. We cannot be completely satisfied. And that is why for us, the one-off is that role. It plays that interesting, crazy electron that refuses to settle.
You have the effectiveness awards, the Effies, right? Which addresses all that you just said, right? You have to have a great creative idea. It's got to be effective. It's got to produce the results in terms of sales, in terms of brand awareness, all your scores, all of that. That's how the Effies are judged. It's judged on that. It's not judged on just the creative. it's the manifestation of the whole process through the line, right? Creative awards, unfortunately, aren't judged that way. They're judged purely on the basis of the creative idea, or the thought or the expression could be an activation idea, and that's how they're judged.
This little condescension in saying, you know what, these are creative awards and these are effectiveness awards, and guess what, those effectiveness awards are really boring and nobody really wants to know about them. And let's spend all our time schmoozing in Goa and drinking and, you know, spending time creative awards. I'd really like to see how many clients are there in Goa these days. I mean, you know, I wasn't. So, sorry, I sound a little vitriolic and bitter, but you know, the point is, there's a lot of loss in translation, and that's the point I'm making. So, I really think the two streams have to merge.
I think the challenge really is, you know, for the shift in mindset of the big boys of advertising, to really look at the fact that a lot of advertising's raison d'etre is growing, building brand equity, and moving sales. And if you forget that, I think it's very easy to get sidetracked by nice pieces of metal and, you know, great CVs that say that, you know, I've won so many awards. And that's a critical part that I'm advocating as a watch out.
The amount of time that goes into writing those entries these days, and the number of award ceremonies there are, and now, you know, we want to make a mark in the global arena as well. I mean, I work in the beverage category, as some of us used to, and the peak season for us is actually March to June. And guess what? I don't have a single creative person available because either judging awards, juicy, or they're writing for awards, or they're sending in, all the servicing guys and the planning guys are writing the entries. So, you know, I mean, who's doing the work that keeps my business afloat? So, you know, but to your point, why not wait for the next year, add some results to it, and then enter it if it truly becomes a big, bold, hairy brand building idea.
You can only have one Gone with the Wind, and you can have 6 Rambo 6s, but Gone with the Wind is just one, and you might try to repeat it. That's why a sequel of a film normally doesn't work.
What a treat it is to have minds like this being able to talk to us.